What's going on, guys? Welcome to Misadventures of an American Elected. This episode, we're giving New Jersey State Senator Ron Rice his very own video. I'm Jay, District Leader for the 7th District in Irvington, New Jersey South Ward. And before we get into all of this fun, please do all the YouTube things. Like, sub, share, speak. I've gone out of my way on this channel to explain the difficult position that I'm in when it comes to the generational difference between myself and many, particularly the elders of our communities. Guys, when I call you family, it isn't hyperbole. Everyone reminds me of someone I love and miss. Senator Rice is no exception. He's been in office since I was 3 years old, and his political presence is the stuff of legend. I honestly respect the man, but on the topic of not just cannabis legalization, but the drug war as a whole, we stand on opposite ends of the spectrum. Senator Rice held a forum in Hillside on marijuana legalization where he handed out the transcript and read it out loud, detailing all of his reasoning behind his opposition to legalization. And to be fair, he raises a lot of good points. What New Jersey is aiming to do is corporatize, not legalize. Our communities will remain prison farms. Our government just wants to get its own product out. I've never pretended otherwise, which is why the social equity measures are so important. Because before Assemblyman Holly stepped up to the plate, they were just going to shove it down our throats. Ultimately, I would prefer Senator Rice use the social equity provisions to address his concerns by strengthening the measures. But he has taken his position from the angle of morality and concern for children.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
The senator compartmentalizes and separates the medical and adult use, but truth be told, it's all cannabis. The medical side is just a means for exploitation.
Mr. Marsh, I'm afraid that the test came back positive. You do have testicular cancer. Score! Now, the good news is it hasn't spread anywhere. We should probably schedule to have them Yeah, but for now, can I finally get my prescription, please? Your prescription for what? 1 ounce of Purple Orpal, 2 ounces of Fisherman's Friend, and a ½ ounce of Alabama Kush. Oh, that is nice. That is nice.
Randy! Jesus, Randy! Your balls!
I know. Smoking pot right in front of a cop. Pretty sweet, huh?
Senate President Sweeney says he has the votes. I'm inclined to believe the assertion, and even if New Jersey goes against it, there will be movement at the federal level in the next few years. Legalization is imminent. I could upload the entire video unedited, but I do this so you don't have to go through that. So what we're gonna do is reply to the New Jersey specific portion of his presentation. Take it away, Mr. Senator.
What do we know? We presently know that in New Jersey, people in these cities, in these towns, are paying $1,200 to $1,300 a month in rent. And in cities like Newark, they're paying rent to slumlord properties with the skilled oil and all kinds of...
His first talking point speaks more to the high cost of living than anything else. People paying $1,200 to $1,300 a month to rent substandard conditions, particularly when that same money can get a mortgage elsewhere in the country, is an atrocity in and of itself. But then he caps it with the homelessness, another issue that has accelerated over the last decade or so. This point is mute when you factor in the poverty problems our community faces. He has made it clear that he doesn't care about or need the money from a billion-dollar industry, but the current circumstances illustrate that these people need something in the state designed to run your pockets.
I'm done talking. Let me know. Thumbo, you coming out them pockets? You coming out? Is you coming out them pockets? I need that, Thumbo. All that.
But they never used drugs before. And they're struggling on low incomes to make ends meet, and we may even subsidize some of it. And they're doing okay. So all of a sudden, you legalize recreational marijuana. Some of these people try it, they like it, they start shaving some of the rent money off, and then they're coming up short, because it's already tight. And they go to Lionel and say, Mr. Leach, I'm a little short this month. And Mr. Leach gonna say, well, Ron, you've been a good tenant for the last 5 or 6 years. Everybody have hardship. See me next month. Next month, I go to Mr. Leach. He's gonna say, wait a minute now.
Quick story. I'm headed to the Target in Union, got caught in a crosswalk, so I back up and hear a tap on my trunk. There's a black woman standing there talking about I hit her. So I pull over, we exchange information, and I go to Target. While in the parking lot, I am approached by police telling me that I am a suspect in a hit and run. Props to the cops. They saw through that BS, but exactly what do you think happened to my insurance rates? Point being is that these insurance companies will raise rates for any and everything. I mean, it'd be nice to have a government willing to check them on it, but that's asking electeds to bite the real hands that feed them. You know, I'm getting pissed thinking about that situation. Let's just move on.
I can't roll this way because I got to pay a mortgage too. See me next month. Next month I come up, you can say, you evicted. Unintended consequences.
The negative consequences of prohibition are evident all around us.
For folk who never used anything, or wouldn't even try it if it wasn't legal. Give you another one. People being subsidized. Now they're doing cars, and they're supposed to be doing cars and not food stamps now. There's time they're doing food stamps, they're going to the store. Well, if a person is going to the store with these subsidies, and they're cash them in, and they're not feeding our children, and the kids go to school, and they're taking kids' food, the teacher gonna say, "Oh, you're hungry? Yeah. Did your parents feed this morning? No." Or they'll give me a little bit. They're not gonna call the parent. They're gonna call diapers. The kids take you out the house. Unintended consequence.
Irvington actually has quite a few parks for a 5-mile radius, but what this argument glosses over is that the illicit market and liquor stores are already there. He sees it as spreading more depravity, but the depravity is already at critical mass. Zoning laws exist for a reason, if that's a true fear, but speaking as if having a legitimate business in the vicinity would cause more damage where there's already decay and deterioration is a bit silly.
We don't want to have this discussion with real people, like yourselves who have some of those kids. Or like people that you know that have some of those kids, live in those communities, struggling with the rents and things like that. And so we know that's happening right now in New Jersey. So we know if we increase the opportunity for it to happen more, it's going to happen. Unintended consequences. We know that the lobbyists are paying big money. They're all over the place now. Boehner. Anyone know what Boehner is? Boehner used to be the Speaker of the House, Republican. He's no longer the Speaker. He's in business with marijuana now. He just brought the biggest company around into New Jersey. So the political bosses, George McCross, and them just got in bed with them down there. George McCross' brother Phil. They're doing things here. Jim Florio just came and joined another big company. They're not talking to us about the problems that we have, that they're aware of, being former governor. They're looking at the money being made. So all these folk that say that black folk and women and little people are going to make money, they're not going to make money because eventually there's going to be 5 or 6 companies throughout the whole country where they do have legalization running things. And so we know that to be factual, and we can't compete with those dollars. We know that there are some negative consequences that are foreseeable. We need to know what they are, and we need to talk about those things and put firewalls around it. And I've talked about the messages that's insulting to me, because I don't like people telling me I should be free, they'll keep me in jail, so we're going to leave that alone again. And I also just want to say that when you look at our communities, we're living in communities where people, cities like Newark are growing. We finally seeing a renaissance again. And some of you have been in Hillside a long time. Remember Sharp James, we started to see a renaissance, and then it got stymied. It got stymied because the economy went bad with the depression, and also corruption and stuff that was taking place in these cities. Now we're starting to see the renaissance again. And I know if you go through Newark, you'll be honest with yourself, at least down.
Renting out properties is a business unto itself. The businesses that operate here rarely hire from within the community, and the pre-existing issues of poverty, decay, and everything else that he's highlighting gives them a valid reason not to. The environments that the drug war and police state that we currently find ourselves in created all the problems that you're now using to suggest we continue down this path for reasons already proven to be damaging by the policy. This is circular thinking.
You're starting to see the progress. And one reason we're getting that is because the millenniums and a lot of the families are coming into cities like Newark and Perth Amboy, New Brunswick, etc. They said, we understand you have problems which relate to crime and quality of life, but we see things getting better, so we're willing to move our families there, but we think it's a good deal to buy that house behind here in Hillside. That's a better buy for us right now. moving into the future than New York, etc. Well, we legalized recreational marijuana. I know what they're going to say. I know what my wife would say. I love you. I was willing to go to Newark, but now they're going to legalize recreational marijuana?
That contradiction is a byproduct of the entire lie that is the drug war. The thing about lies is that they create contradictions, and the lie of the drug war has always been that it's been what's best for our communities and children. But the last 50 years have proven that to be a false narrative. Our communities aren't better off, and our children aren't being raised any better. This war has been a catalyst for all of the problems we collectively face, and now that there is an opening for a peel back, the logical flaws become far more apparent.
And I'm going to raise my kids there. That's not going to happen. When the kids got to walk down the street with liquor stores and bodegas and drugs on the corners and abandoned buildings over here and lots with weeds growing up because we don't enforce the laws, etc. And then you're going to put some stores out there selling cupcakes and candy too?
Let's unpack this one, because he's right. It's criminal to hold our criminals hostage when many of them probably shouldn't be labeled as criminals in the first place. A point that the senator underlined in his very own presentation. Oh, and that whole creating addicts concern? Why do you think the word opioid was created? It was to distance the healthcare and pharmaceutical industry from their role in the drug culture that this country has found itself in. For all the talk about weed being a gateway drug, there is a lot of purposeful blindness to the painkillers and other prescription medications that doctors hustle.
In Colorado, the kids are taking cupcakes and candy to school, and other kids are getting sick because parents aren't being responsible with the stuff. And so those are the kinds of things that...
I'm a district leader, not a black one, so phew! And this probably is my favorite point he makes. What he's talking about is what I like to call a black mask, when outside forces use a black face to sell the black community concepts and ideas ultimately meant to exploit them. Completely random example, let's say you wanted to build an IHOP to sell fattening and unhealthy food and then pay the workforce poverty wages. You would get a black face to proclaim itself the greatest thing ever to happen to the community.
We know. I'm not going to talk anymore. Pretty much you can read that, but I wanted to kind of put that on you because that's my frustration. My frustration is that we're not having these kinds of conversations.
That's where we ultimately diverge, because my concern is the people that are already here, because they're going to be the ones making those people. And if we continue down this path, we'll only be getting the same results we already have. Irvington poverty is at 23%, and yes, I am well aware that not everyone fills out census data, but my fear is that if they did, the number would be higher. The police state my community finds itself in is the result of terrible policy, but worse, it's a thumb over the water hose when the goal is to shut the water off. It's time we walk over to the knob and turn it off ourselves. And if you aren't good with metaphors, I'm saying that we address the poverty head on. We look out for our community by making sure the opportunity is available for them. And let's be clear, I don't care what industry it's in. You can grow the world's greatest bud or stitch together ShamWows. Our representatives should be trying to bring legitimate, sustainable, preferably manufacturing and production work for those who are willing to earn it. Man, woman, orphan, white, black, yellow, aqua, it doesn't matter. You deserve the ability to have an opportunity, and those opportunities have been shrinking by the moment while our elected class enjoy their 30 pieces of silver. So, guys, that's about it. Thank you so much for putting up with me. Please, do all the YouTube things. Like, sub, share, speak. I'm gonna leave you with our exchange. The latest episode of Unbound is on deck, and until then, love.
Now, so he took office when I was very, very young. And well, I can't help but notice that from my childhood to now, there's been a very big difference in the quality of life in Irvington. And I can't help but notice that it was a huge, that big turn happened during, late 80s, early 90s, during when they really started to ramp up the drug war and everything else like that. And now when I look at my community, because I left for a few years, I lived in California for a few years, then came back home. I got my degree out there. And now that I look at it and I'm seeing it from this angle, I can't help but feel like this was all purposely done, like the entire drug war was purposely done to turn Irvington, Newark, and places such like that into prison farms, to where it's basically, hey, you know, we need to get recidivism and everything else like that, and really get money on prisons and everything, and whatnot, what have you. So I guess what my question would be is, how is this any different? When you say, okay, yeah, employers won't, employers are going to drug test. They already drug test. When you say kids are going to smoke it, kids are already smoking it. When you say it's about poverty, last week there was a huge story in Newark where there was a principal who had to buy a laundromat, because the kids are so poor that they don't even have clean clothes. And I've seen this deterioration happen like over the course of my lifetime. So when we say, like, I'm not really one for jargon, you know, adult use, recreational use, medical, no matter what. When I look at the drug war as a whole, it's been used to exploit my community and my people, and just throw them in jails, destroy our families, wreck our communities, and I'm just like, so I guess my frustration lies in, if this entire thing has been used to really exploit us and demean us and diminish us, then what's the big deal with legalization?
A couple things. Number one, you're right. I know a lot about the drug wars that started under the Reagan administration. Actually go back beyond that, the war on drugs. Now, the war on drugs was created. They gave that a special name for a reason, okay? They were having problems and the voters were complaining. But in order to have a war, you have to have an enemy. And so the strategy was, if you read up on it, was to create an enemy. So, quote unquote, the black community became the enemy because all the vices they alleged, we do a lot of vices anyway, so we became the enemy under what's perceived as helping us. I did an editorial piece to remind people this is no different than that. We've been exploited again. It's just that folk, when they start talking about, you can make a few dollars, now not you personally, black folk can make a few dollars, and we've been left on the table so long, they got to buy into it. It's the same exploitation. When I hear people tell me, well, but they're using drugs every day, the kids are still getting the drugs and stuff, I say, you're right. I know that about anybody. It's in front of my office, okay? But I also know it's like this. I know when you legalize it, we can document recreational stuff, the number of people who never use and probably never will use drugs, okay, goes up tremendously. So we create a whole new population. It's bad enough we got the graph down here. We don't need it going up here like this, etc. So there's a big difference there. What we should be doing, because the whole idea, talk wasn't about money before, and you know that. The talk was always, when we talked about the war on drugs, it was about decriminalization, how we was being treated with crack and cocaine, the differences there, how to treat us fairly. All of a sudden, someone said, we're tired of folks crying about treating them fairly, but we're going to treat them the same way, but we're going to just kind of distort the picture a little bit, and so we want to help you, and you can make a few bucks, and that gives us a chance to move into a whole new arena. Now we can put stores up here, etc. They compete with the guys in the corner. Well, you ain't going to compete with the guys in the corner, because every time you put a store up, the guys in the corner will get handed by the underground, etc. So there is really no difference in terms of the war on drugs, but there's a difference in terms of
I squeeze cat, 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 so my clip is empty.